Spoilers, Wolverine. Yeah, we're talking about this now. I picked up the Wolverine Unleashed Extended Edition today, and I watched it, and like with Man of Steel, I want to talk about it now, because this Unleashed Edition has about 12 minutes of extra footage in the movie, and I'm gonna keep this in my hand, actually, because I am going to show this a couple times in the review. Now, when I first saw the Wolverine in theaters, I really enjoyed it. I gave it an A-. I thought it was a really well-rounded movie. The villain was pretty sucky, and that was my main issue with the movie. Unlike Man of Steel, I still feel the Viper is a terrible villain, so that's not changing. But overall, I thought that the extended edition of the Wolverine really added to it in the small amount of time that it actually gained, because this movie just felt... It was already a well-rounded movie aside from the villain, but now it felt more well-rounded than it was. Because the characters, there's more character development in this cut. It's not like this is just like 12 more minutes of straight-up action or anything like that. There's a lot of character building moments. You get to see more of, and I'm going into spoilers now, you get to see more of the relationship between, Yashida and his son. You get to see some more development for Mariko and Yukio a little bit. Like, each character has at least one scene in the movie where they get more development than they had. Even Viper got more development. Doesn't make her a better villain, but hey, at least it's something, right? What this extended cut does is it adds to the movie, because when you see Wolverine, like, fighting around with people, especially in the attack at the funeral, when he's cutting people down and everything like that, you get to see, in the theatrical cut, you see a little bit of blood, I believe, like on his claws. But it still felt like a comic book movie or X-Men movie where there's just not that much blood happening at all. This time, he sticks his claw through someone's leg and flings it. I don't remember that from the theatrical cut. That was awesome. There's just more shots of gore, and I'm not like a gore hound for this type of stuff. I am a gore hound in horror movies, kind of, but in comic book movies, gore isn't necessary, but it's added in. Like, with a character like Wolverine, I feel like it works better having some gore in there. That whole funeral scene and the train sequence, none of that really had much added to it, I don't think, except for a couple different shots of more bloody action. But the two other action sequences in the movie, like one where Wolverine is trying to get that thing out of his heart, that metal, like, spider creature out of his heart, that sword fight scene between Yukio and Yashida's son, I forget, or Mariko's father, whatever, and Wolverine himself, that fight was extended and it was way cooler. Like, it wasn't that it was bad before, but it was a fine fight. But now it's really cool. Like, Yukio and the father are fighting for a greater period of time, and I just felt that worked better. In that scene where all the samurai are going to shoot Wolverine in the back with arrows, before that happens, the fight between them lasts so much longer in this movie. It's not just like him running away from them and getting cut down. This time, he and Yukio actually have a plan, and they start fighting him, and Yukio gets in this snowblower, and she just mows through a guy, and there's just blood coming out of it. It's like, what is going on? Am I watching a rated R movie? I don't get this. But you know what? I enjoy the hell out of that. It's just, and the action is still, it's well filmed, it's intense, and there's this one shot after Wolverine, like, blows up the snowblower, where he has a cigar in his mouth, he just lit it, he's got his claw, and he's just staring out at all of them. It was so badass. There's a spider right there, and I'm not gonna do anything about it, and I'm gonna keep talking about this now. Amazing Spider-Man trailer doesn't come out for another 2 days. Leave me alone. I talked about that Mariko got a little bit more development in this movie, but I want to go into it a little bit more, because that sequence where she and Wolverine stay at that love hotel, and Wolverine in the theatrical cut just faints on the balcony, and then she takes him to the veterinarian. This time, Yakuza guys attack him and they pull him over the ledge onto the street, and then she throws knives at them and kills them. That was cool, because when in the theatrical cut, she has, like, she talks about how she's good at throwing swords, but you never get to see it until, like, the final fight where she throws him into Yashida's head. And so it felt like, oh, she can do that now. This time you see her do it once, so you remember that in the back of your mind. So the second time she does it at the end of the movie, like, you knew it was coming because you saw the theatrical cut, or at least I did, but it was still cool that she got a little bit more development like that. I don't recall too much more extension to, like, the last half hour of the movie. I don't think there was much. Like, most of it was the fight scenes in the middle of the movie and developing the characters. It wasn't really adding to the final sequence of the movie or anything like that. So I didn't mind that, because I still thought the final sequence of the movie was enjoyable. The rest of the action in the movie was actually better, to be honest. So legitimately, like, the only big problem I have with this movie is Viper. She's just not an interesting character. She's actually kind of interesting in the way her powers are set up. I'm gonna take that back for a second, because I think that she could have been a good villain, but the actress for her, she goes in and out of accents all the time, and it's just stupid, and she is not convincing at all. So I couldn't get into that part of the movie, but the rest of it is great. Hugh Jackman is still the Wolverine in my eyes. There's nobody who can play that character at this point besides him, and if there's ever a time that someone's going to replace him, I'm going to be very sad. All the other acting in the movie aside from Viper is well done. The action is great. James Mangold filmed this movie so well, and the comedy bits in this movie worked really well, because Wolverine has a type of humor behind what he does usually. It's usually a dark humor and filled with hate, but it's still funny. Like, Man of Steel tried for humor and failed miserably. This movie, it knows when to use the humor in the right moments, and it works, and I like that about the movie. Overall, the Wolverine Extended Edition, I like it more than the theatrical cut. I think it just adds to the movie more. It gets more development in there. It's more enjoyable as a whole. I think if you like the Wolverine, you'll like this even more. And you have to pick up the 3D edition, though, because that's one of the things they had. You have to pick up the 3D edition to get the extended edition in 2D. Doesn't make much sense, but you know what? Whatever. It comes with this cool, sleek black case, and it looks beautiful on Blu-ray, so if you're thinking about it, definitely get it. So what'd you guys think of the Wolverine? And if you've seen the extended edition, what'd you think of that? How did you feel about the additions to the movie? Anything you want to talk about? Even that deleted scene, or even that alternate ending with Wolverine getting his full mask, that was cool. Anything you want to talk about, write your beautiful comments down there and tell me what you think. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there, because if you don't, that spider's gonna bite me, and then I'm gonna be dead before I can review the Amazing Spider-Man trailer, and I don't want that, at least.